What's up, everybody? So it's been a little over a month since my last video. I did have baby boy. His name is Gabriel Nathaniel Orbo. I had him on November 24th at 1:46 p.m. Baby boy weighed 7 pounds 6 ounces and he was 19 inches long. So that's the update on him. As far as this video goes, this video was highly requested based on my Instagram followers. You guys wanted to know my labor and delivery story. So being that I said that I birthed him on November 24th, we're gonna back this story time up all the way to that Monday, which is November 19th. So November 19th, I had an appointment. That was my 39-week appointment. I had already been having contractions, but my cervix was not dilating, so they didn't want to admit me. I was contracting just like how they said. They were 5 minutes apart, but the fact that I wasn't in excruciating pain, I could still walk and I could still talk, they didn't want to admit me. They were like, we're gonna wait till you're a little bit further along. So if you feel like you can't walk or you can't talk, then you need to come in. And I'm just like, all right. So then just so happens that same day my midwife was there, and thank God she was there. So me and her talked, and she said pretty much we would just wait until your water breaks, or since you're already 39 weeks, she said that we can go ahead and schedule an induction. I didn't want an induction, and I was like, okay, well, what if I wait a week? And then she was like, well, if you wait a week and we still have to schedule the induction, you'll have to wait until 41 weeks, which you don't want to do that. So I was like, okay, well, I'll go ahead and schedule the induction for this Friday, and then if my water breaks before Friday, then it just breaks before Friday. So then on Tuesday the 20th, I have my calendar, you guys. So on Tuesday the 20th, me and Devontae ended up coming right back in because my contractions were getting even closer together. By the time we went back to the hospital and the nurse checked my cervix, she said I was about 2 centimeters, which they don't really want to admit you until you're about 4 to 5 centimeters. So she pretty much sent us back home, and they pretty much said the same thing, like, you're too calm to your contractions aren't close together, but you're too calm. And I'm just like, okay, just because I got a high pain tolerance, that don't mean like shit's not going down. Like, he wants to come out. Like, the cervix may not be moving as fast as y'all want it to, but all the other signs are here. Like, mucus plug came out, bloody show came. The only thing that didn't happen was my water didn't break and I wasn't dilated enough. But everything else that they tell you to look out for so you know when to come to the hospital, it was happening to me on Monday and Tuesday. But they kept sending me home. So then on Wednesday, my mom came into town. And Thursday we ended up having a nice Thanksgiving. It was really chill. We didn't cook too much because I didn't know if I was going to be rushed to the hospital, so we didn't cook too much. Friday we went in for the induction just like how we scheduled it. And when we went in for the induction, for one, it took them forever to give me a room. I don't know why it took so long for them to give me a room when I literally scheduled to be, like, I had an appointment to be there. So you knew what time I was going to be there, so why wasn't my room ready? But that was a whole nother story. Anyway, so we got into the room and they checked my cervix, and I was about 3.5, almost 4 centimeters dilated. So my nurse asked me, she said, since I'm already dilated, they don't have to put the little balloon in to start opening my cervix because it was already open, and they didn't have to put the little it's like a little supplement pill that they can like insert into your vagina to help the oxytocin hormone so you can start dilating and pretty much go into labor. They didn't have to do either one of those, so they just put me on the Pitocin, which they insert through an IV. They just started me on the Pitocin roughly about 8 p.m. on Friday. So about 8 p.m. Friday night, I couldn't have nothing to drink. Well, I take that back. I could have water. They let me have water and they let me have Jello. I couldn't eat anything besides water and Jello because apparently the Pitocin can make you sick or something like that, depending on how your body reacts to the medication. So they put me on the Pitocin and it wasn't moving. Now, side note, honestly, I don't think that the nurse I had that night, honestly, I don't think she knew what she was doing. That's just my opinion, but who am I? I've never been to med school, so I don't know. I just personally, I didn't like my first nurse. So I was on the Pitocin, and my cervix wasn't moving like at all. I was still having the contractions. I was just chilling. Honestly, we were just laying in bed watching TV. My mom was there, Devontae was there. He called his folks. I called my dad, my grandma. We were just sitting in the hospital playing a waiting game. Then roughly about 4 a.m. I'm sorry, 4 a.m. Roughly about 4 a.m. The contractions started to pick up even more, but not to the point to where I was like dying. So I'm trying to remember because it's been literally about a month now since since I did all this. So roughly about 4 a.m. My cervix started to dilate some more, and right at about 6:30 was when the nurses changed. When the nurses changed, I ended up getting another nurse. She was a bit older than the nurse I had before. Her name was Linda. Linda, I love you. I love you, Linda. Like, Linda was working magic. She made me feel comfortable. Any questions I had, she answered it. Pretty much anything. She was legit. At the same time, right when the nurses changed, I also asked for the epidural because I was told that you want to request the epidural before you get to the point where you can't sit still anymore. Yes, the contractions are picking up. I can still sit still, but they also wow, they also told me that it might take a while depending on where's the anesthesiologist. He might be in surgery or whatever the case may be, so you want to request it in enough time to where you can still sit still long enough. So I just went on ahead and requested it at 4 centimeters because I didn't want to really wait that long, but I ended up having to wait anyway because he was in an emergency C-section. So I had to wait probably about another hour, maybe about an hour and a half. So I didn't get my epidural until about 7:30 that morning when I had requested it at like 6 a.m. So the anesthesiologist comes in roughly about 7:30, like I said, and I was scared shitless. Like, I was petrified. I hate needles, but I didn't want to feel no pain, so I was just gonna suck it up and just be like, you know what, let me get this epidural. So the anesthesiologist comes in, he's talking to me through the procedure, trying to let me know what's going on. For one, he fucked up. So if you ever watch the epidural video, they're supposed to numb the back before they put the little string where it constantly gives you a drip of the medicine. His first response to me was, the worst part of getting the epidural is the numbing shot. And I'm like, I don't like the sound of that. And then he was like, I was like, so what does it feel like? Like, how bad is it? And he was like, oh, it feels like a bee sting. I never got stung by a bee before. Like, that's not comforting. Like, you need another analogy to tell your patients, because that shit, that wasn't comforting whatsoever. So when he came in and he was getting ready to start his process, my mom had to leave, Devontae stayed, and they stuck my back. When I tell you I couldn't sit still, that numbing shot, that shit don't work. I felt every last thing he was doing. It was pressure. He was taking forever. But once he finally got it in and got the shit going, peachy keen. But the process, oh, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. I'm kid you not when I wish that on my worst enemy. That was so awful. So I finally got the epidural, which it took him maybe like 30 to 40 minutes, which should only took him like 10 to 20 minutes, but whatever. I'm not complaining. Let's see. Got the epidural. So then my nurse comes back in, and now that I'm feeling all good and stuff, like literally your legs start to nut, like literally I couldn't feel anything belly button down. Like I was numb, and it was magic. Oh my gosh, I loved it. But it was also weird because at the same time I couldn't feel anything down there. So like, this probably is TMI, but like I was farting and I had no control over it. Also, my nurse came in and she inserted my catheter. I probably said that wrong, but the little tube that pretty much lets you pee, because at that point I couldn't move anymore because I couldn't feel my legs. So I couldn't even get up to use the bathroom. So they had to insert a catheter so I can pee and all that stuff like that. Couldn't feel myself fart. I could just hear it. I couldn't feel it. I was embarrassed. I just kept telling my mom and Devontae, I was like, I'm sorry. I just keep farting. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And they just laughing, and they like, they were just laughing at me. So then the nurse, after she inserts my catheter, she checks my cervix again. She says I was up at about 6 centimeters at that point, I want to say. And she's like, oh, we're gonna have this baby like today. And I'm like, oh fuck, like shit's getting real. Like, really? We about to have a baby like today? Like, you sure? Are you sure? And she's like, yeah. If I had to put a time on it, I'm probably gonna say like 3 p.m. And I'm like, bro, that's like in like 5 and 6 hours. Like, what do you mean? And she was like, yeah, you're definitely gonna have this baby today. And so I'm asking her all these kind of questions. I'm like, so when it's time to have a baby, like, I know it's like a constant drip of the epidural, but so they also give you like this little button where if you feel like it's wearing off, you can like just push the button and it'll flow more medicine so you can get numb again. I was like, can I push the button again right before I gotta push and stuff? She was like, yeah, but I wouldn't do that if I were you. And I was like, you already said yeah, so I'm gonna do it. I was like, no. And she was like, well, you don't want to be too numb because you still want to focus on where you're gonna push. And I'm like, all right, but I'm still clicking that bitch like right before y'all say let's start pushing, because like I said, I didn't want to feel not squat. I didn't want to feel nothing. So then she actually had her own little method, since I couldn't actually walk, to speed up the process of my cervix dilating. She had me laying on my sides, and then she actually the hospital table, she brought that over and she actually propped my leg up on top of the hospital table. So I was kind of sitting like this in the bed, like this is the leg that's on the bed and then this is the leg that's sitting on the table, just so it kind of has like that squatting motion, so I can dilate a little bit faster. And we did that right up until it was time for me to push. So she just kept rotating me like every hour for about 6 hours or so. And right when it hit 1 o'clock, I called the nurse in and I'm like, hey, I know I'm not supposed to feel anything, but it feels like there's like a little knot in my vagina. And she was like, a knot? And I'm like, yeah, like it just feels like a little ball is sitting in my vagina. And so she was like, let me come in there and check your cervix. So she came in there, she checked my cervix. She was like, oh, that's his head. And I'm like, what? And she was like, yeah, like it's time for you to push now. Let me go get the doctor. And I'm like, you said 3 o'clock, it's 1 o'clock, like I'm supposed to have 2 more hours. Like, lady, what the hell are you talking? Like, no, yeah, you gonna have to go get the doctor, because I'm gonna need like expertise, somebody who's checking me, because I don't think you know what you're talking about. He woke up, so I had to go feed him and change him and mommy stuff. So yeah, so she went and got the doctor because I needed somebody else's opinion. Cause I'm like, what do you mean I gotta push now? It's only 1. You said 3. I was really thinking 4. But anyway, the doctor came in. She checked my cervix and she was like, oh yeah, it's time to push now. And then she told the nurse, go get everybody, go get the stuff. So then they start reeling in all these carts and stuff. Other nurses started coming in. I think I had like 4 or 5 different nurses and also a bunch of crap. And while they were trying to explain to me like what was going on, they were like, okay, we're gonna do a practice push. And I'm like, all right. And then they were like, you're gonna want to focus everything down south and this and the third. My husband held one leg, the nurse held the other leg, my mom was by my head. And they're like, you're gonna push, you're just gonna, it's kind of like taking a dump, but you're not gonna take a dump. You're just gonna push everything down. You're just gonna focus down. So I'm like, all right, you say so. I don't really know how to do this, and nobody really taught me how to do this. So I went to push that first time, and he started crowning. Like they saw his head, like at the I guess exit of my vagina. Devontae was like, his head's right there. And I was like, okay, well, they need to get ready because I'm finna push. And then they were like, well, we're gonna wait on your contractions because the contractions are gonna help push him out. And then what we're gonna do 3 pushes in one. Pretty much like, how can I describe it? So they considered one set of pushes was like 3 pushes. So I would like push, 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 and then I could rest. And then I would wait for the next contraction. And then I would push, 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 and I would wait for the next contraction. So once that started going, according to Devontae, he said it took about 9 pushes and Gabriel was out. I don't think it was 9 pushes. I feel like I was there a hell of a lot longer. I want to say he said it took maybe 10 minutes, maybe. Because we were literally waiting on the contractions. Like, I would have kept pushing, but they kept saying, wait for the contraction to come. Wait for the contraction to come. Wait for the contraction to come. And once I got done with the second set of pushes, I was just like, fuck it. I'm tired of doing this. Like, no, I'm pushing now. They were like, no, but a contraction. I'm pushing now. Like, get your hands down there. Go grab them because I'm pushing now. Mind you, I'm crying. I couldn't even see Devontae. He was blurred out. My eyes were shut. I was boo fucking hooing. Then they were like, all right, he's out. Do immediate skin to skin. He had all that slime stuff. At first, before, like even when I was pregnant, I was like, I don't know about that. Y'all might need to wash them first. After you go through everything that I've been through, I don't give a fuck about that slime. I'm like, no, just put him right here. And I'm holding him. He's crying. As soon as I like got my hands from wherever they were to like hold him, he stopped crying. But then obviously people started touching him and he wasn't fucking with that. It was like, no, I got my mama. I don't want nobody touching him. So, yeah, he was born at 1:46. I do remember, like, the second he came out and he was on my chest, I looked at Devontae and I was like, no more. Like, no more kids. Like, we're not doing it on purpose again. That's what I'm trying to say. We're not gonna do this on purpose. But yeah, it was a great experience to actually be able to push him out vaginally. I didn't have to go into surgery and do anything, like have any major surgery. He didn't have any complications. I didn't have any complications. If you were to time it from the time that I got to active labor, which is 5 centimeters and up, I probably was in labor for 6 hours. If you count the entire thing, I was probably there for a day and a half. Or if you count from the time I started having contractions, it took a week. So it all depends on how people measure it. Yeah, it is what it is. If you like this video, please give this video a thumbs up. Comment down below your birth stories or any experiences that you thought was funny for your labor and delivery process. Please stay tuned for more videos. If you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in my next video.